Welcome everybody to today's webinar. I want to thank everybody for being here. My name is Mike Lugo. I'll be hosting today's webinar. Today we'll be going over our Dashcam and going over our ADAS and DSM system capabilities, fleet optimization, and field implementation. I'm also joined with Katrina. She's going to help me out. At the end, we will have some questions and answers at the end. Save them. Go ahead and type them in and we'll answer all your questions at the end. Quick background about Bolide. We are a CCTV manufacturer specializing in everything CCTV with headquarters here in San Dimas, California, but we also have offices in Latin America, Mexico City, Bogota, Colombia, El Salvador, Dubai, and Barcelona. So today we'll be going over our MBR DSC AI 2E-AI Dashcam. Quick overview of what you get with the camera. We will be getting, of course, built-in GPS, 4G capability. The camera does have Wi-Fi, and that's for the FLT Guardian app. I'll get into that and how you use that a little later in the webinar. But it has a built-in G sensor. Of course, we get our ADAS and DSM capability. It does support 2 analog cameras, 720p. You have 2 alarm inputs to add to the camera, as well as 1 integrated button. And it does have the capability for 1 SD card up to 512 gigabyte capability. And the power capability of the camera is 9 volts to 36 volts. So let's go over really quick on what we're specializing here today. ADAS, which is Advanced Driving Assistance System, and DSM, Driver Status Monitoring. And what do you get with that? You get vehicle collision warning, distance monitoring, lane departure, fatigue warnings, smoking warnings, phone use warnings, driver distractions, driver face failure warning, camera obstruction warning, and drinking while driving. It's going a little deeper into a couple of these. So the first one we're going to is fatigue. This is a very useful tool when it comes to this camera. One of the major things when you have a fleet of drivers is you don't want them being tired. A lot of drivers are driving too many hours. You know, them being tired can cause a lot of issues. You want to definitely get notifications if a driver's yawning or if he's too tired, right? Another one is smoking. Smoking is another big one. Not only is it a fire hazard in the cab, it makes the cab smell. It's just bad all around. We want to know if a driver is smoking or if he's doing any other things he shouldn't be doing in the cab as well as drinking, right? Another major one is phone use. I know here in the States, it is highly illegal to use your phone, texting and driving, using your phone, making phone calls. We do not want this to happen. We want to make sure that we are getting notifications back to our central system or to the driver saying, hey, put that phone away. Now, one of our number 1 major reasons for this camera is collision warning. We want to make sure that if we're driving, we are not too close to a car in front of us. If we are, we want to make sure we get a warning saying, hey, you need to pull back a little bit. You're driving a little bit too aggressive. As well as pedestrian, same thing. We do not want to hit a pedestrian. All these warnings are very useful when you have a fleet of drivers. You're trying to control all of them and make sure what's going on with all of them. You want to make sure you have these notifications coming through and you're able to see what's going on. And lastly, a very important one is lane departure. If you're swerving, you're not driving as you should be, again, back to our central station, we want to know, hey, this driver's not driving as he should. And we want to be able to get those notifications, right? So that was just a little bit about the AS DSM, what's inside the box, right? So what do we get with this camera? Right off the bat, we get our ADAS forward-facing camera, right? And our DSM driver-facing camera. As well as we get our panic button integrated to the wire harness. And this wire harness has our power leads and our other cables that we need to connect, as well as we get 2 additional cables for our 2 additional cameras and our user manual. Also, I spoke about the Dashcam having the capability of having a 512 gigabyte SD card in it. Now, you do want to make sure this is a class 10 memory, U1 memory because of the write and read speed, because this is in a vehicle and everything is happening at high speed. We want to make sure that we have this have the right amount of speed and to be able to write this at the right time. Quick wiring diagram overview of what we get on the wire harness. So if we take a look at the image, at the top, we're going to get the connections for the 2 additional cameras. Again, those are 720 high-def cameras. We have a yellow cable which connects to our forward-facing camera. That's the driver's side camera. And then we have a red cable that's going to have all of our power leads, our ground, our accessory wire, our 2 sensor wires, and our panic button. So that's just a quick overview of what the wiring looks like. Architecture. So let's get a little bit into this. The camera does require a server to run in the background. That server is going to be the go-between between the unit and the client. And the way this works is, of course, the unit itself has a 4G SIM card in it, which is connect to the internet, and that'll connect to the server, as well as the client will connect to the server. And the server is going to transmit any information that we need from the unit and directly to the client, and they'll be able to process any of that information and see anything coming through as it happens. So I'll get a little more into this. This is just a quick overview of the architecture of what it entails. So the client is IVMS system. This is what you'll be seeing, viewing all of our units through. And again, I'll get into that. This is the quick picture of what it is. Some of the tools that we're going to need for installation. So we're going to need a multimeter. We're going to need some wire strippers, a screwdriver, electrical tape, and the connection cables. If we are going to the battery, we need at least 14 or 12 gauge for the power, and the sensors are going to take 18 gauge. Now, it's very important that when you are connecting up these components, that we do not have any power interruptions. We don't want any interruptions that are going to cause the unit to have any kind of errors, right? So let's start the process of how we go about installing this unit. So I'm going to take you step by step through every step we need to take. So the first step we want to do is get the unit on the side. There is a door. On that door, we're going to open it up and you're going to see 2 slots. One for a micro 4G SIM. We want to make sure that when we do get the SIMs and you order them from your provider, they give you a micro SIM, as well as a micro SD card. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get them from us. We'll install them for you. But if you do happen to order your own SD card, you want to make sure that it is micro SD. Just a quick overview of how this power connectors are going to be connected. So there's 2 ways to connect it. The first way is you can connect directly to the battery, which is our red cable. And then we have a yellow cable that's going to go to the accessory or the ignition cable going to the vehicle. We want to make sure that we're getting at least 8 to 36 volts with our multimeter. We want to make sure that the ignition is going to have at least a 5-volt pulse, right? We also want to make sure that when the ignition is cut off, that it also cuts off the unit as well. This will kill the battery. So we want to make sure it's very important that when we cut the accessories key off, it's going to cut the camera off as well. And of course, again, avoid any power interruptions during the install. So, and again, the red wire is going to go positive to the battery or to the fuse box. The yellow cable is going to go to the ignition again, or to a fuse that's going to the ignition. And the black cable is going to be our negative to the terminal on the battery. So we're going to watch a quick video and I'll narrate through this. It's going to take you a full installation on how to get this set up in the vehicle. So initially, there's 3M tape on the back. When we get that off, we want to make sure we have a nice clean area on the top of the window. Now, when we install this, we want to make sure that it's above the rearview mirror and out of the way of the windshield wipers. So we're going to get this nice and set into a good position. Make sure the camera is facing forward. Now, once this is stuck on the window, we cannot pull it off. The tape will no longer, the adhesive will no longer stick as well. So we want to get it right the first time. If we do have to pull it off, we are going to have to redo the whole process again. Now, you'll see some leads coming out of the camera. We have, like I spoke, the yellow wire, a red wire, and our 2 black wires. The yellow wire is going to go to the front-facing camera. The front-facing camera also has some tape on it, so we're going to go ahead and remove that tape. And we're going to make sure that we got this in a position where it's going to be able to see the driver without anything obstructing the view of the camera. So we want to make sure it's out of the way of our visor. Make sure our wire is within the distance of our main unit. We don't want to put it too far to where we can't connect it. We have enough length here, so we're going to go ahead and stick this to our window. Again, make sure it's a direct view of the driver. We don't want any obstructions to be able to block that camera view. Get the wires out of the way. Make sure the wire is facing up so we can duck it into the headliner later. And go ahead and attach it to the window. Once that is on there, it's going to stick and it ain't coming off. So now we can connect our yellow cable. Get that nice and neat. Make sure it's secure. And get our other cables ready to be put into our headliner. So you can also notice for future installs, we have the 2 black cables, right? For our additional cameras, if we are going to add them later, make sure they're accessible for future install. Now we're going to get our wire harness. Our wire harness has our red cable that's going to have our power and our panic button connected. We'll see we have our 2 wires, our 2 sensor wires. Make sure they are also accessible to you when we do hook up any sensors to it. So make sure these wires do not get tangled. They're very easy to tangle when you're getting them through the vehicle. So go ahead and connect our red cable, which is our power lead, and get these tucked into our headliner. Nice and neat and out of the way. Most vehicles have a pretty accessible headliner where we can tuck these wires in pretty easily. Of course, every vehicle is a little different. So we do want to make sure we have a nice, clean access to wires to be able to hide them. So once we get these wires nice and neat in here, the next thing we need to do is get these wires down the panel. So we are going to get our screwdriver once we get this in here. Nice and neat, out of the way. And we are going to pop off our side panel. Pop our screwdriver off. And now we have access to our panel to tuck these wires in. And you'll notice we have a nice clear path going down to the bottom of our vehicle here. Again, you want to make sure there's a lot of wires on this harness, very easy to tangle. So make sure you stretch them out, get them nice and neat in there. Also, you'll notice that there's a lot of metal on the side. When you're pulling the wires through, you don't want to strip the wires as you're coming through. Also, with the panic button, you want to make sure that it's going to have a nice clean area to be able to run it to the front after. You don't want to get it caught up in these wires. It's real easy to tangle. Make sure you have enough length on it to be able to pull it through. So once we get this down through the dash, through the bottom of our panel here, most vehicles have a fuse box located on the driver's side. That's not always the case. This vehicle does have it on the driver's side. Some are located on the passenger side. Some are located underneath the dash itself. So we're going to locate our 2 wires once we get our panic button out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and take out our multimeter and our red wire, which is our main power. So now, again, I mentioned you can go straight to the battery, or you can go to the fuse box that's going to have a constant 12 volt. Well, 8 to 36, but most vehicles you're going to find a 12 volt, 12 volts coming out. So with our multimeter, we're going to make sure we're grounded. And then we're going to start to test these fuses where we have a 12 volts coming out as a constant. Now the accessory is off. We want to make sure that this is a 12 volt coming from the battery. So there we go, 12 volts constant. That's going to be our fuse that we're going to tap into for our constant, right? So that's our red cable. Constant 12 volts, that's not dipping. Once that's secure, we can get our red cable in there. And now we're time to move to our accessory cable. So our accessory cables, and make sure that the keys are off for now. And we're going to go ahead and get our multimeter again. And we're going to find out which wire is going to give us a 5 volt pulse and get a 12 volt once we get the accessories on. So you'll notice that this is, every vehicle is going to be a little different. This one's really accessible right by the ignition key. We're going to tap in and start to test our voltages coming out of our lead here. So that's not right. There's a 12 volt. And we're just going to check these other wires and make sure that we are on the right wire. Now, This one's very important to make sure you get the right cable because we're going to strip this cable down. You do not want to strip the wrong cable. You were cutting into the vehicle's wire harness here. So test it 2, test it 3 times. Make sure you have the right cable. Once we have the right cable, we're going to turn the accessory on. And again, check, we have 12 volts coming out of the accessory on. So that's not it. There we go. And 12 volts with the accessories. So once we have that, we can go ahead and just verify one more time. And we're going to start to strip into this wire here. So again, we're testing, making sure we have the right wire. Double, triple check if you have to. We do not want to cut the wrong wire here. And just check our other wires. Okay. And you'll notice 2, 3 times testing is not a bad thing. Okay. Now that we have our wire, we're going to go ahead and disconnect our ignition. We don't want, like I said, we don't want any power surges or anything like that going on. We can now strip the wire back. And we're going to tap into this wire here and connect our yellow accessory cable to our lead here. So I want to make sure we don't cut the wire completely. We just want to strip the casing of it. Once that is stripped back, we're going to go ahead and tie our accessory cable into it, get our electrical tape, and get this nice and neat. We want to make sure that we tape it up nice and neat. We don't want any shorts, anything that's going to cause any kind of short or disruption in the power. Once we got this nice and tied up, we can plug that back up and make sure we get our panic button nice and mounted where we need it. And after that, we are pretty much done with the physical part of the installation, and we can move on to our next step. So the next step, once we got the power and everything else connected, we want to download our configuration app. And you can find this in the App Store or the Google Play Store. The name of the app is the FLT Guardian by Bolide. Once we download the app, the camera is powered up. I mentioned earlier that the camera does have Wi-Fi, and I said that it is for the FLT app and configuration. Now, once the camera's powered up, it's going to broadcast a SSID Wi-Fi. That SSID is going to consist of the name Bolide and then the MAC address of the unit. And you'll see here in the image, Bolide and the MAC address. The default password to the Wi-Fi is Bolide 88168. Once we got that in, we are now logged on to the unit's Wi-Fi. Once we're on the unit's Wi-Fi, we can open up the FLT Guardian app, and we are going to log in. Once we log in, we are going to navigate to our network. So the parameters tab on the corner, we're going to navigate to the network tab, and we're going to go down and we're going to enter the IP address of the server that we have running that I spoke about earlier. So in this instance, I'm going to put in my server IP, make sure it's correct. Really, that's all we have to do to get this part done. Once we save it, it's going to reboot the unit. Once the unit is rebooted, we are going to set up our SIM. So back at the login screen, we're going to log back in, and we need to set up our SIM card information now. Back to the parameters tab on the bottom right-hand corner, we're going to scroll down to our 3G, 4G. And the one thing that we do need from the service provider when we do get the SIM is the APN. They'll give you every APN for everyone's going to be different. Once we get the APN number in there, we're done setting up our 4G SIM. Next step, any camera adjustments that we need to do, we can do that now. So we're going to log back into the unit, back to the parameters tab. Just tap on the screen to get a live view. Once our live view is up, we're able to make adjustments to the cameras. If we need to move it up, down, left or right, make sure we have everything in our field of view. Once that's done, we're going to move over to calibration. Now, this is very important. We open the app back up, and there's an algorithm tab. Under the algorithm tab, first we're going to do is the DSM. It's not too hard. You'll notice there is a square around the driver. We just want to make sure that the driver is in the middle of the square. And then we can move left and right, move the square left and right to make sure that he is centered in the field of view. It's very simple. Once that's done, we're done calibrating the DSM part of it. And then we're going to move on to ADAS. So the ADAS, very similar. We are going to open up our ADAS algorithm tab, and you'll notice there's some lines in the field of view. We just want to make sure the lines are located in front of the vehicle. Everything's lined up. We can move these lines left and right. You'll see the arrows there. And you also want to make sure that the distance is correct in front of the vehicle and to the sides. This is very important. You will get false positives if you happen to not calibrate this correctly. So once that's done, there's a couple things you can do with the FLT Guardian app if you're not using the server. One of the things you can do is, since we're here, let's just talk about it, do playback. You'll notice when you open up the FLT Guardian app, you're still connected through the Wi-Fi. I can go to the record tab, and I can see my recordings that the camera has recorded on. So really quick, I can click on any of these videos, and this is one that I have up here set on the bench just to show some quick video playback. Very easy. Again, this is if you don't want to use the server and you're just connected to the Wi-Fi of the device, you're able to log in and see some playback. Also, a couple basic things. Vehicle information when we are doing the setup. Again, log back in. There's some vehicle information. This is going to be good for plate numbers to help identify the vehicle when it's connected to the server. So I can put SIM number, plate number, mileage, VIN number. This is all information that help me identify what vehicle I am looking at when I am seeing my units on the server. Another one that we can do is sensor setup. I talked about you get 2 sensors. You can connect to the units. Again, clicking on the sensor tab, you can connect any of these input outputs, triggers, and how you want them to come in, snapshots, you know, how I want these sensors to be relayed back to the server. I can set that up here in the FLT Guardian as well. And last, but not lastly, but SD card. You want to format your SD card, you can also do that in here as well under the tab. Select format, you're going to format your SD card. And lastly, your record plan. If you're not using the server and you're using it as a standalone unit, you want to make sure that you have your record plan set up as well. Start time, end time, Monday through Friday, or you can do it every day. It's pretty easy to do. Now, got all that done. Now we're worried about connecting to the server, right? We want to make sure that we have connectivity. The first thing we're going to do, we set everything up. We're going to go down to our system information tab, and you'll notice that we have some information, a bunch of information actually. What we're concerned about here is the SIM card that shows that it exists, that we have a good signal, and TTS authorization means we are connected to our server. So now, once we're connected to our server, let me pull up my server here. Let me pull this over. So that once we have success, shows that we are talking to our server. I'm going to pull up my server GUI. Let me log into it. Type that password wrong. Make sure we get our CapTech right. 8286. Okay. Well, notice we have some offline devices. We're not concerned with those. What I'm concerned about is the device I just connected to. So you'll see that there's over to the left, there is a unregistered tab. I'm going to click there. I have a couple of things here that are unregistered. The one I'm concerned with is my 4G unit that I just connected. And we'll notice we can see our MAC address here. That is the same as the one I'm connecting. I can hit add, and I need to add this to a user and to a driver so I can begin to use my IVMS client. So the first thing I want to do, if I can give it a plate number. We're going to call this 001. I'm going to come down here. I need to connect it to a driver. I'm going to put it for my demo and save it. Now, once that's done, I can go ahead and log into my IVMS server. Let me pull this up. Here's my server. I want to make sure I have my username and password correct, and also my server. So my server is going to be my Bolide one here, and I logged onto my demo. I'm going to log in. Great. Once I'm logged in, you'll notice I have a couple vehicles here off to the left. The vehicle I just added is 001 because that is the plate number that I gave it. I'm going to select here. You'll notice right when I click, and it's going to give me GPS coordinates right away. Right now, so you'll notice I have some information on my screen connected with my 4G, video information, intercom information. If I double click on my video here, I will get some live video footage and also other information. Let me click on this one here. There's my live footage and my GPS information. Now, a couple other things I can do now that I have it connected to my server, right? I can go ahead and I can right click over my device, and you'll notice I have a bunch of information here to the left that I can use to help me access and program my device. So main thing I want to do is come down here. Of course, I can restart it, restart factory settings. I can do GPS intervals, telling me how often I want to get GPS coordinates, set reports, parameter config, vehicle information. The one that I'm concerned about today is our AI parameter settings, right? This is going to be any of our ADAS information, DSM information. I can set up all these things from here. So after I did my calibration and I need to go fine tune that stuff, I can log back in and let this load. And I can set any of my parameters that I need to adjust. Actually, we're having a little, since it is 4G, they can have a little bit of lag. Let me log into this one here. It's a little bit faster. Let's try it again. I don't have the best 4G connection here in the office. It's a little slow. There we go. So now, forward collision alarms. I want to make sure that's on. I can check my distance and how fast the vehicle should be going. Lane departure, safe distance, pedestrian collision, camera blocked. You know, all of my ADAS alarms I talked about earlier. I have them here, and I can do any adjustments as well as my DSM adjustments as well. Okay, any of my things that I need to do that I did in my FLT Guardian, now that I'm connected to the server, I can do them remotely. So not only that, I can also set geofencing on my vehicles as well. So if I want to say, hey, you know, I have a geofence here. I want to say this is, you know, area 1, and I'm going to give this, you know, color. It's already red. Type, you know, this is, you know, just maybe work area, and I want to add any kind of remarks. Vehicle comes in or out of my geofence, I'm going to get notifications or alarms down here that'll say, hey, this person came in or went out of my geofence, or, you know, vice versa. Other things we can do with our IVMS. So we can have the map as the main window with video to the right, or I can do video as my main window to my maps off to the right. Another thing we can do is tracking. I can track my vehicles, what they did throughout the day. I don't have tracking on because I do have it on my bench. And then, of course, I can do any record information, you know, that the recorder has. Let me select one of these and do search. I'm just going to search the recorder. Any video that's on there that's been playing, I can go ahead and play that back. One of the most important things from today that we want to go over is the alarm setting, right? I can get a bunch of alarm triggers. Let me go here. A bunch of alarm triggers I can get here. Let me go back and show you some quick video of what those alarm triggers look like. So give me a sec here. Okay. So alarm triggers, what do they look like when you happen to have them, right? The first one we're going to see is smoking. Smoking alarm comes through. I get a notification at my central base. I got someone smoking, and I can go ahead and I can see the playback. You can see here the driver is lighting a cigarette in the cab. I can hit the play button and see exactly what's going on. Right, real easy. I can therefore say, hey, call the driver. What are you doing smoking? Next one is going to be distance alarm. You'll notice you can see the driver's forward facing camera. I want to see what the forward facing camera looked like when it did get that trigger, alarm trigger. You'll notice as he approaches the vehicle in front of him, he's moving way too close, way too fast. Again, that's what the alarm looks like. The next alarm we're going to try to see is answering your phone. Again, very important. Why is the driver on his phone? And I can see how fast he's going, what he's doing. There's my alarm. Hey, driver is answering his phone. We definitely do not want that going on in the cab. We're going to go ahead and alert the driver, hey, you're on your phone. Please get off your phone. And the last one we're going to see here is safe distance safe distance. Fatigue driving, I'm sorry. Driver's yawning. He's been driving too long. He's tired. He needs to pull over, or he needs to do what we need to do, get some coffee, make sure he's not tired, and this is not affecting him too much. And actually, we are going to. That's it for that. So that's how the alarms look when they do come through the server or through your IVMS, right? And also, let me log back into my server here and show you some of the reports that we can pull. Minimize this. Back to my server. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff in the server. But one of the most important things we can do is also pull reports, right? For the day, for the week, for the year. Under my reports, you'll see there's many reports here. I don't have any live drivers out there that I can pull reports from, but for instance, ADAS information, any details I want from my ADAS reports that got pulled, and there's a number of reports. DSM, parking, alarm triggers for driving too fast, driving too slow, park too long. Yeah, we don't have any live drivers, but it's really easy to select. I want everything confirmed, selecting my demo, which I have on my bench, and then I can do a search. They're not going to have any reports since it's just on my bench. I do want to show you guys a live unit. We do have a customer that was nice of us to let us see a live unit in action. So let me pull that up now. I want to be able to show you guys what that looks like. Let me log out of this server here, log out of this guy here. Oops, just log out. Let's open this back up. Okay, and I'm going to log into this here. So again, this customer was nice enough to let us have access to their live video now. I'm going to pull that up so you guys can see what that looks like. So we have a couple units online. Again, I'm going to select this. It's going to give me live GPS coordinates. I'm going to see my live view. I'm going to double click on the device, and I can see live view of this dash cam in use. Again, all the information I can grab on a right click, go through any of the parameters I want to change. Also, live video. That do not have tracking for security reasons. They didn't want to use tracking or allow us to use tracking, so I'm not going to show that. We'll go again. I can do any past recordings. Simply select the device, search through there, and get any recordings and also any alarm configurations. You can see they have many alarms coming through. Again, this is live. I can click on one of my alarms here, and I can see my front-facing camera and my forward-facing camera. All right. So pretty simple to do. Couple clicks, real easy. Let me close this here. Close this here. Again, those are our reports that we can pull. And also, I do want to touch, there is a mobile app. It's called Bolide Mobile. You can download this from the Google Play Store or Apple Store. And really quick, let me show you what this looks like. We're going to log on to the app. All you need is the username, same information we use on the IVMS itself, right? Once I got that information in there, I can log in to our mobile app. These are the same devices that I just showed you. I get live GPS map coordinates, video playback, very easy, tracking as well. And lastly, you can pull from the mobile app itself is a bunch of our alarm. So again, it's very important when we're doing ADAS, DSM alarm information. I can do disc alarms, any errors that come through, SIM card, GPS loss, any operational alarms, emergency button gets pressed, fuel alarms. A lot of this stuff is legacy from our mobile DVRs. They have a lot more stuff, so you'll see a bunch of stuff in here that isn't on the actual dash cam. But all these push alarms, you get notifications back to the unit, back to your phone, as well as from the IVMS itself. That's pretty much it in terms of setting everything up, getting everything going. I do want to open up for questions. We have some time left. Katrina, if you want to add anything, or have any suggestions, anything you want to go over, I'm going to open the floor up now at this time.
Perfect. Thanks,
If you
Mike.
got any questions?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our session. Mike, we do have a few questions. Question from Ken. If the server has been turned off, does the user
one question.
have... Can you hear me?
Does it connect to the OBD? Yes, it does. You can use the two sensors to connect to the ODB, which connects to your car's central computer. Yeah, so that is a yes. I have another question here. Does it have a Wi-Fi? How can I use the Wi-Fi? So I touched a little bit on that on the Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi does work with the FLT Guardian. It doesn't have a Wi-Fi in terms of connecting. You can't connect it to existing Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi broadcasts through the unit itself. So yeah, that's how you get that coming back. See if you have any questions. I do have another question here. Is the software free, and is there any licenses required? So the software is free. We do offer you the software for free. There is no license fees that you have to pay. All that is included when you buy the unit, and of course you get our full tech support with it as well. We don't charge for any of that information or any of that stuff. So a couple other questions here. Do you provide the SIM card in the unit? No, we do not provide the SIM card. The SIM card you will have to get from a service provider. Again, it will be a micro SIM. And you can get that from your service provider. Okay. So a couple other questions here. So if the server's been turned off, does the user have the ability to download back data? Yes. So when the server's turned off, when the unit connects back to the server, all the information is on the SD card. So once that is connected back to the server, we can go ahead and pull prior recordings or recordings, from the unit itself. Okay. Again, we have some more questions here. let's say there is a power outage and the server turns back on. Are we able to get that in? Yes. Once the server is connected back again, it's going to connect back to the unit itself, and all the data that's on the unit we're able to retrieve. Let me see. I have another question here. What do you do for customers who want 24-hour recording? So customers with 24-hour recording, that's kind of a little iffy, right? Because you need to have the unit powered up for 24 hours. So you would have to have some kind of battery inside the vehicle itself that's going to be able to handle power for 24 hours, right? We do also have a UPS that will allow the unit to be on for a certain amount of time, depending on how long big the UPS is, to be able to record for a little bit of time once the vehicle's off. But if you do want 24-hour recording, we do need some kind of power that's going to be able to handle the vehicle being on or being off, and enough power to power the device on as well as the vehicle's off. Okay. Let me see. We do have a bunch of questions here. What if the vehicle has multiple drivers? Can you assign the driver at the start of a shift to avoid adding a driver? You could. So you do normally have a driver that's going to be in the vehicle. He'll be assigned to that vehicle. So yeah, you would just assign the driver at the start of the shift. So another question is, what is the monthly cost per unit with the service provider, and what is the average monthly cost of data? So the data is all going to depend on what you're using. If you're using a lot of video, of course that's going to go up. I wouldn't have a cost for you what the monthly service would be, because that would be from the service provider themselves. Yeah, that would be something you would talk with them, but if you're not going to be doing live video, it doesn't require much data. A basic plan should be sufficient unless you have a lot of vehicles. You would have to get enough data to support the number of vehicles that you have. So what is the contact details for tech support? So you can contact us here at Bolide. Our number 909-305-8889. We're available on the West Coast, 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. Yeah. And do you have any service providers in Jamaica? That would be a question for Katrina. Yeah, you would have to contact these providers there. We're in the US. I don't have any providers from Jamaica offhand. Let's see. Katrina is going to answer this question for me, and I will give you an answer. Give me a second. We do seem to have some audio issues with Katrina. I'm not sure why, but that's fine.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
And Katrina says, yes, we do have providers in Jamaica. Yes, I don't have any names, but yes, there is providers there. So I'll keep it open for a couple more minutes, see if we have any more questions come through. Don't see any more questions. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close this. I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you everybody for joining today's webinar, and have a nice day. Thank you, everybody.